really?
Yeah.
You know me, I always get hot.
No,
And you get used to it, but
and I thought, oh.
I wear
It's got
these
one of those.
because
Yeah.
the
All right.
cloth
And
ones
you
are
like
harder
them,
for me.
I love it. It's my
And
new,
if that
my
bothers
new
you,
thing.
you can
All
try.
right.
I've got them on the front desk in box leaf.
Yeah.
Disposable one.
Sherry, that's why I do that too.
This does too. I mean, this has a little wire in it. But these are the ones I can wear for yoga. The cloth ones I wear all the time going to the store and stuff. But
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, me too, Sherry, that I can't wear the cloth one.
You can?
I feel like I'm too restricted.
See, for yoga, you probably do
Hot.
that with this kind of.
They're cute.
anyways, just so you know, they're out there.
Maybe
if you need
they'll-
them.
This is what I'm most comfortable with.
We're here for gentle
Is that
yoga.
the
Wednesday class, first Wednesday morning class.
gray one the other day?
Yeah.
And it is the 13th of January.
I know.
So let yourself sit comfortably. And if you're at home, you're more than welcome to sit up on blankets, of course, and you can sit in a chair if you'd rather. I'm going to be on the floor to start today, but so stretch your legs out if you want to, or cross your legs if that feels better. Close your eyes and let yourself just start to focus inward here. So feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose. And let your hands move around a little bit if you need to let your shoulders find a really comfortable place there. And then accept those breaths in and out through your nose. Imagine you're breathing equally in and out through your nose. If you're comfortable to come into those three-part breaths, inhaling into the belly, into the ribs, all the way up into your chest. And then start to move a little bit now with your breath. Let your exhalations bring you forward and your inhalations bring you back up. And it doesn't mean you have to move far. Depends on you, how your back feels, keeping that length of the spine if you can. So it's a gentle rocking motion really. Next time that you end up coming forward, let yourself stay there. You can put your hands there to give you support if you're on the floor. If you're in a chair, you can, if you'd like, bring your hands down more towards the ground. That's up to you. You can separate your feet farther too if you're in a chair. Try to release here through the neck. So try not to lift your chin up and shorten the back of the neck. Maybe even let your head drop and hang a little bit if that's okay for your back, but don't force anything. One more breath here. And then we'll walk our hands back. If you can let your hands come out beside you, see if you can lengthen upward through the top of your head. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our chests. And then reverse. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now, let your head tilt to the right. Remember, here at class, I won't be mirroring you, so if you go on the other side, it's fine, but right ear towards the right shoulder. And then come on back up to center, and let's tilt left ear towards the left shoulder. And then come on back up and see if you can look up just a little bit. Don't tense your neck up. If you want to look up more, do. If you want to look higher, in other words. And then come on back to look center. And from here, let's inhale just our right arm all the way out and up overhead. And now come over into a side stretch. So if your hands are on the floor, you can use it for a little support there. Let yourself breathe into the right side. And then we'll come on back up. We're going to switch and let the left arm come up and come over into side stretch on the other side. So breathing into that side you're stretching. And then we'll come on back up and let yourself float your hands out a little way. Circle your hands around a little bit. Go both directions. Switch when you're ready. Shake your hands out a little bit. And if you're on the floor cross-legged, we're going to switch the leg that's in front so we can even out there. So you can stretch out a little bit if you need to. Get yourself situated again. And then let's come forward and back again with our breath. So letting your exhales bring you a little forward and your inhales bring you up. Keeping that length of the spine. And again, trying not to lead with your chin. In other words, letting the back of the head stay in line with your spine. And again, the next time that you end up coming forward, we'll stay forward a little bit. You can go farther out if you want to. If you're on the floor, you can walk your hands out farther. Do let your head hang if possible again, as long as it's okay for your back. And then just breathe. Let your hips open up here. Wake up the back a little bit. Let your face be soft. One more breath. And then we'll walk ourselves on back up. Let your hands come on behind you. So if you're in your chair, you can drape your arms over the back of the chair. Or you can put fingertips or flat hands onto the floor behind you. Draw your chest forward. Let yourself open up through the front body here. And be mindful of your neck. If you need to look forward, do. If it feels good to look up a little bit, if that feels good to your neck, do. And then we'll come on back up and go ahead and bring the chin down towards your chest. Try to keep lengthened up through your spine, but just let the head come forward. And then we'll come on back to look forward, and we're going to stretch our legs out long here. So even if you're in your chair, see if you can stretch your legs long and start to circle your feet around. And it doesn't matter if you go the same direction with the feet or opposite, right? So let yourself reverse and go the other direction. And switch again. Let yourself circle a little bit easily. And switch again. And then kind of shake out a little bit. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. And you know, if you don't want to be on your knees, don't be. So if you've got a chair there, you can put a chair in front of you and put your hands up in the seat of it if you don't want to be down on the floor, right? Letting yourself get your feet underneath your hips and your hands under your shoulders. Or you can be down on your hands and knees. And put a blanket under your knees if you need that, right? And get comfortable in your wrists and see if you can kind of wag your tail a little bit, right? Let your hips just shift a little bit side to side. Good. And then come on back into center and start to let yourself, as you look between your hands, take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, draw up into your cat pose. Feel your tailbone drop down, round into the back here. And on your inhale, send your tailbone back and up, moving your way back through into your cow. So the exhale draws you into your cat pose. And your inhale sends you back through into the cow. Now take your time. You know, you can move at your own pace with your own breath. Either moving continuously or stop and stay in your cat or your cow if you want to. So if it feels good to stay in one of those poses for a couple of breaths, by all means do. And then finish off the one you're on. We'll come on back to a more neutral spine. And we're going to bring our left foot forward and our right foot back for lunges. So you know, you can use blocks underneath your hands. You can have your hands up higher on the seat of a chair if you'd like. You have 3 heights if you're using blocks. So it can be the highest height, the middle, the lowest height, right? But be mindful of that front knee. Make sure it's not bending any farther forward than your ankle. Let yourself come into the back of the body here. Imagine yourself in the pose really. Think about your whole body here in your lunge. And we are going to switch to go to the other side. So whatever you need to do to bring that right foot forward and the left foot back. Again, being mindful of bending that front knee no farther forward than your ankle. And feeling the feet in the floor here. Imagine you're trying to make your mat a little bit longer. Press the feet gently away from each other and engage the belly. Good. And we're going to step forward from here and come into standing forward bend. Use whatever support you need so that if you're back, you feel a little bit of tweakiness and you need to use support, use it. Hands can be on the chair. You can put your forearms above your knees so that you find that length in the low back. Or you can release your hands to the blocks if that feels good too. So just release. Let your head move around a little bit maybe. Nod or shake your head a little bit to feel release in your neck. And then once you feel like you can really let go there, let go through your face too. Let your face soften. Feel released all around your eyes, all around your mouth. And now feel your feet equally into the floor. Bend your knees a little bit. Imagine you're pressing the floor away from you as you start to rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts, coming into mountain pose. So if you need to adjust your feet, by all means do. Get that distance apart between your feet where you feel really good, very balanced. Close your eyes. Let yourself, for a second, come inward into your breath. And if you get dizzy, of course, open your eyes and look on out like you're looking at the horizon if you're standing outside. If you need to kind of shift around, sway around a little bit, do till you feel that sense of, right at center. Balance between your right and your left. Balance between your front and your back. And just enjoy. For a second, imagine when you inhale that your breath is rising up the front of the body. And when you exhale, the breath is flowing down the back of your body. Almost like you're encircled by your own breath. And then we'll let our arms unfold down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees, coming into our standing forward bend again. Let your next inhale help you find a long back, whether you want to put your hands on your blocks, your chair, or your legs. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. Good. Inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog pose. Now you're down dog, your choice whether you have your hands up on a chair seat, onto blocks, or on the floor. Take your time. If you want to walk a little bit, bend a knee at a time, do. Just enjoy this stretch through the entire body, right? Length of the spine, opening up the backs of the legs. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards a plank. Now you don't have to go all the way. And if you'd rather come onto your forearms, by all means do, or put your knees down. So take your time, finding a little bit of core here now. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Elbows softly hug inward. Let yourself enjoy that length again. Nice. We're going to bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. So whatever you need to do to get there, put the left knee down if you need to. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet underneath us. Again, support if you need. And now follow your breaths here. See if you can just Don't force your breath, but receive your breaths in and out and follow them all the way in and all the way out with your awareness. And then we'll release to bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees. We're going to come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And exhale, let the hands come right down in front of our chests. Let's reverse to inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as you fold forward. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long back. And this time we're going to step the left foot back to come into that lunge. Again, be mindful of that front knee. Nice length. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose again. So again, it is up to you what height you are. So feel free to adjust if you need to. Hands on the blocks, hands on the floor, or on your chair seat. Reach back through your sitting bones here. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards that plank. Again, you do not have to go all the way. Take your time. If you feel like you'd rather put your knees down, do. Come to your forearms if you need to get out of your wrists. Engage your belly. And we'll come on back into down dog from here. And this time, left foot comes forward for lunge. Again, if you need to put your right knee down to get that left foot forward and through, do. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. And go right to your breaths. Full deep breaths here. See if you can enjoy those little spaces between your breaths. So at the end of your inhales, that little space before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhales, that little space or pause before you inhale. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise on up. We're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms. And now just bring your hands straight out from your shoulders, like a T position with your arms, right? Flex your hands for a second. Bend the elbows a little bit, and then press out into the heels of the hands so you feel the undersides of the arms there. And then let's bring our left arm on top of our right. Give ourselves a hug. Now you can let yourself hold on your shoulders or down lower towards your armpits, whatever feels really good in your shoulders. And then from here, just let your head tilt a little bit to one side and then to the other. At your own timing, just let your neck release a little bit there. Good. And then finish off back up at the top there with your head. You can stay right here and bring your chin down, maybe be happier here. Or you can send your arms in towards a half eagle or eagle wrap, letting the backs of the hands come towards each other, maybe sliding the back of your right hand to the outside of your left elbow, or maybe letting your hands come together so that your right fingers are on your left palm there. That's up to you. Just releasing there. One more breath. And then we'll unfold the arms on down. We're going to inhale back into that T position again. Flex the hands again. Let your elbows bend a little. Press back out again into longer arms, like you're pushing two walls away from you, really. And then bring the right arm on top of the left. And again, you get comfortable the way you're hugging yourself. And then let your head tilt again, one side to the other in your own timing. So like if you're like, oh, I just need to stay one side here for a bit, do. If it feels better on one side because you're finding some tight places and you need to stay a little bit longer, by all means do it. And then when you're ready to bring the head on back up to the top again, you can bring your chin down, stay right here. You can release towards a half eagle or eagle wrap, backs of the hands towards each other a little bit, sliding the back of the left hand to the outside of your right elbow. Or, of course, if you like that full wrap, left fingers onto that right palm, that final little twist of the thumbs towards the midline, totally up to you and your shoulders. Good. We're going to release the arms on down beside us here now, and we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And this time we're going to walk into down dog, so you let your hands be the height you like, and move your way back into your dog. Once you get there, if you need to keep walking your dog a little bit, do. And next inhale, coming on out to plank. Now it is optional to do any kind of back bend. That is up to you. You can stay in your plank. You can bring yourself down to the floor, come through for a little cobra or a sphinx pose or an up dog. And then we'll make our way back again towards down dog. Again, try to let yourself feel good in your shoulders. Elbows hugging in a little bit. And we're going to come on out again towards that plank. Again, take your time. You do not have to do a back bend. If you do one, it's your choice. You can come into a cobra or a sphinx on your forearms or an up dog. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our left foot forward to find lunge. Again, you can put the right knee down if you need to get there. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart, parallel. See if you can lift all your toes up, and feel free to use support underneath your hands. You know that if you need it. Or elbows above your knees. And kind of look at your feet. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside or the inside. You can actually do that a little bit, kind of roll towards your pinky outside of your foot or inward a little bit towards your big toes, and try to center yourself out where you feel even. And then see if you can spread your toes out a little bit. Try to make space between the toes. If your hands need to help you, do it. You know, if you can reach down and do that. And then let the toes release on back down to the floor. Try not to grip like cat claws. Try to let your toes be relaxed into the floor. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips, press into our feet, and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So take your time, find your mountain pose. If you need to shift around a little bit, do. Again, bring that gaze on out, whether your eyes are opened or closed. And feel that sense of, if you were a mountain, you would be very strongly based. So the feet are your base. Maybe your head can feel like it's floating up in the clouds. Following your breaths all the way in, all the way out. So seeing how your body responds, how it quiets down as your breath does. And then we'll let our arms come on down beside us. Shake out a little bit. If you need to move around, do it. Walk around if you need to. And we're going to come into warriors. If you're using a chair, you might want to turn the back of it to face you. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior 2 first. So right foot comes about parallel to the back edge of our mat. Have your blocks handy here at the front of your mat. And then bend your left knee and take your time. Look at your left knee. Make sure you're set there. You've got that knee right over the center of the foot, not going out beyond your toes. And then let's float our arms up. Turn your palms up for a second and let your elbows melt down so you can feel released in your shoulders. See if you can turn to look at your left palm. Now, if that bothers your neck, don't do it. You know, keep your gaze where you're comfortable to be. And then slowly rotate the palms downward and start to reach out through the fingertips, reaching back through the right fingertips just as much as you're reaching forward through the left. Finding that strength and power of your warrior 2. Good. We're going to turn the left palm up, and we're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky with that left hand. Right hand can give you a little support back there on your right leg. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angles. So your left hand or forearm can go onto your thigh or onto your chair. And then bringing that right arm up, if your shoulder lets you, into line with the right side of your body. Now, if that bothers your shoulder, put your right hand on your hip. Don't Don't push anything. Really feel that extended side angles, feeling long through both sides of your body. Good. We're going to come on back to Warrior Two. Let the feet gently press away from each other as you rise on back up. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And if you need your blocks when you come forward, you can grab blocks to put underneath your hands if you want, coming into a wide-legged forward bend. So take your time. Once you kind of get situated, bend a knee at a time, as long as it doesn't bother your knees. Let those inner thighs get a nice release there. Good. And then come on back into center and let your hands walk over to the right. You might just want to walk your blocks a little bit to the right. And you might decide you want to walk over towards your foot. And then come on back through center and over to the other side. So again, you might just shift a little bit, or you may walk all the way over to the foot, the outside of that left foot. Good. And then we'll come on back into center and let your knees bend for a second. And if you feel like you want to be supported so your back stays long, you can always stack blocks up and put them underneath your forearms or your elbows. If not, and you feel like, oh, I just want to release forward and let the body hang, then you're more than welcome to do that. So come to a place where you don't feel stress at all in your body, right? You don't feel any kind of discomfort in your back or your hips. And you can just let the upper body go and let yourself be with your breath. If you can, count when you inhale and see if you can reach that same count when you exhale. And if that kind of feels a little bit funny, try to adjust a little bit either way. And if your exhales get a little bit longer, that's fine. Good. One more breath here. And now take your time to come up. So if you need to bring your feet together more before you rise up, do. And if you're dizzy and you need to take your time to get your feet together, do. And then move around a little bit. We're going to do the other side. So again, you'll want your blocks handy. So if you moved them over, you might want them by the front of your mat. And we're going to step that right foot forward and the left foot back this time. And we're going to line up our heels again and align that front knee. Make sure it's not coming inward. It's going out over the center of the foot, no farther forward than your ankle. And then again, float your arms on up, turn your palms up, relax your elbows down. See if you can look at your right palm there. Feel that release in the tops of the shoulders. And then as you slowly turn your palms down, reaching out through the fingertips here. Remember, you want to try to release. Try not to lift your shoulders up intense. Imagine your arms are being held up from underneath instead of on top, right? And then we'll turn the right palm up. We're going to inhale into that reverse warrior. Take a nice breath into the right ribs here. And on your next exhale, come into your side angle. So again, it can be your right hand or forearm on your thigh or your chair. Adding that left arm up is totally optional, and you know that. You can keep the hand down. Let yourself, again, imagine length through both sides of the body. Good. And then we're going to come on back into our Warrior Two. And then let your hands come on down. We're going to turn our feet again, more parallel, coming forward into your wide-legged forward bend. Grab blocks if you need them. Good, and then take your time again, bend a knee at a time. Actually, if you can, bend your right knee, but let your hands walk a little bit to the left. So you're kind of going a little bit towards that straight leg, right? And then come back through center, bend your left knee, and if you can, let your hands walk a little to the right. Your body's kind of extended. And then come on back into center. Bend both knees and see if you can put your elbows above your knees, right? Give yourself support into this squat here. Reach back through your tailbone. Good. Nice length in the spine. And then again, take your time. So as you release into either hands or forearms on blocks or hands between your feet, or some of you might want to feel really good to hold your ankles. Sometimes it feels good to hold the front of your ankles and then put your forearms onto your shins, which is can be a kind of support for your back too. But find where you can be, and then follow those breaths again. Feeling the ribs expand as you inhale. And then feeling them come back inward on your exhales. Good. One more breath. And now take your time when you start to come up. You know that if you need to bring your feet together first before you rise up to standing, do. And again, if you're dizzy and you need to keep your feet apart a little bit, do. Walk around a little bit, move through your feet and your ankles. Even if you can just kind of pick them up and shake your feet out a little bit, do. And we're going to come into Warrior One this time. So letting yourself step your right foot back as you come towards the front of your mat. You can use your chair if you need it. Right foot steps back so that you come into maybe your feet are 2 feet apart or 3 feet. Doesn't matter. As you bring your shoulders around square, you let that back heel do what it needs. You feel an openness here in the front of your right hip, but you don't want to feel any discomfort in your knee or your hip or your ankle. So squaring those shoulders off and bringing your hands to your heart here now, feeling your shoulders over your hips. Coming into Warrior One. And see if you can. Imagine breathing into the belly, then into your ribs, and then up into your chest. Into a 3-part breath here. And then we're going to unfold our arms down beside us. Inhale the arms forward and up. Now you can widen into a more open V, or you can keep your hands right above your shoulders. Turn your pinkies in towards each other a little bit, which will keep you from lifting your shoulders up really. And then you can look up a little if you choose to. Feel that lift through the front of the body in your Warrior One. Imagine almost like there's water, a waterfall down the back of your body though. So there's this great release down the back of the body. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our arms on back down. We're going to come down into a lunge here. So whether you want to put your hands on the chair, maybe you want to use blocks, maybe you want to be up higher or down lower, right? Find your lunge. Let that right heel reach directly behind you. And then bring your left hand to your left hip and turn into a twist here. Your hand can come to your low back. You can stretch the arm up if you prefer. Just let yourself be where you can there. Good. And then come on back into your lunge. And now just straighten your front left knee out. Let the right heel just go straight backwards. It may be on the floor, but it may not. Just let yourself get a little more openness in the back of both the legs here. Good. And then bend the front knee again. And we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Set your feet up there for your mountain pose. Bend your knees. And press equally into your feet as you rise on up and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And let your exhale bring your hands down in front of your heart. Find your mountain pose for breath. Actually, see if you can shift a tiny bit forward. Not so much you're going to fall over, but just a tiny bit onto the balls of the feet. And then see if you can shift just back a little bit more to the heels. Not so much you fall over. And then come back into center and go left a little bit. And then go right a little bit. And then see if you can find that centered spot between all of that, right? Where you feel totally balanced and equal. Nice, and then unfold your arms on down beside you. Move around a little bit if you need to before we do the other side. So this time it'll be the left foot that steps back, so you come towards the front of your mat, and then take that kind of comfortable step backward here. And then remember, this back foot is turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees, so that when you bring your shoulders around, there's no kind of openness here in the left side, right? You're zipping up your belly. If you're in a pretty short stance, your hip pointers will be pretty square towards the front of the mat, but don't force it. And then just bring your hands to your heart here now. Feeling that sense again of coming into a 3-part breath. Inhaling into the belly, into the ribs, all the way up into your chest. Letting the exhale come out of the chest first, then the ribs, then the belly. And then we'll unfold our arms down beside us again. And we're going to inhale them forward and up. Again, you can widen out if you need to. You can let your hands be over your shoulders. Turn your pinkies inward a little bit. Feel that lift. Imagine you have a lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. So the belly is still engaged. There's no compression in your low back at all. So feel that inhale up the front of the body, exhaling down the back of the body. Good, and then we'll release our arms on back down. We're going to find that lunge again. So bring the hands again to whatever support you need, adjusting the length of your lunge to where you feel good to be. Get that alignment of that front knee, and we're going to add that twist, right hand to the right hip, and let yourself roll on up with that right shoulder. You can keep your hand down on your low back. You can stretch the arm up if you choose to. So let yourself feel that length out through the top of the head and reach back through your inner left heel. All that space in the spine. Beautiful. And then bringing your hand on back down to lunge, we're going to straighten that right front knee out. And again, the left heel just comes directly back. Get into the backs of the legs here. Let yourself kind of elongate your torso out over that front leg if you can. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bend the front knee again to lunge. And we're going to step forward from here. Again, getting our feet right underneath us. Take your time. Get settled between your feet there. Let your knees soften a little bit. And then bring your hands up, if you can, and clasp your hands on your low back. Now, if this bothers you, don't do it, right? If you need support under your hands, keep that support. Now, if you have your hands back there, if you want to lift the hands off the back a little bit, you can. If that feels good for your shoulders, you can go as far as you want. And then bring the hands on back down. Bend the knees, press into the feet. We're going to rise on up to standing. Release your arms out beside you and float your arms a little away from you and turn your palms forward. So that you feel now, when the palms turn forward, the shoulders release down. Imagine you're standing here between two panes of glass, one in front of you and one behind you. So you feel really balanced. It's easy to be here in your mountain pose. And on your next exhale, bend your elbows, let your hands come to meet, and really be aware of meeting your hands together there in front of your chest. Feel your fingers, each finger really connecting there, your thumbs, the palms, whatever parts of the palms touch. Don't force anything, but just really enjoy finding your mountain pose here, that quiet strength of simply standing. Nice, and then we'll release and let our arms come on down and shake out. Move around a little bit, and we're going to bring our mats into a wall. So take your time. I'm going to just move this over this way because nobody will be coming here. And let's come in to bringing our left hand towards the wall and come into a little tree pose here. So as you shift your weight to your left foot, look down at your left foot. Just make sure you're pretty parallel. Your toes can be turned towards that wall a little bit if that's better for your hip. And then bring your right heel into the inside of your left ankle for a second with your toes on the floor. And see if from there you can bring your hands to your heart. See if it feels good. If not, keep your hand on the wall. And then from here, imagine just floating that right foot up to the inside of your calf. And if you're like, yeah, well, imagine's all I can do, that's fine too. You know, you can try lifting it up, and if you feel like you need to put your hand back on the wall, do. Just feel that nice balance here of your tree pose, and it's fine to put your foot back down again, readjust. One more breath. And then bring your right foot down, put your left hand on the wall, bend your left knee for a second, and just flex the foot. Feel that left knee reaching directly down towards the floor. Good. And then come on forward, shake that leg out a little bit. We're going to turn around, and we're going to go to the other side. So we're going to stand on our right foot. Again, kind of look at it, make sure you're not turning those toes way out. And then bring your left heel into the inside of your ankle, toes on the floor. And then see if you can, as you think of bringing your hands to your heart, you feel that same uplift in the front of the body, right? You're trying to not sink back into your right hip. There's a lift at the front of your right hip. That lift might enable you to bring the foot up to the inside of your calf. And of course, if it doesn't feel right, put the toes back down, put the hand on the wall if you want to. One more breath. And then bring that left foot down. You can put your hand on the wall, bend your right knee for a second. Just let that quad stretch out a little bit. And then turn to face the wall and let yourself walk back in towards a capital letter printed L shape with your body. So down dog with hands at the wall. If your wrists object to this, because that's a deep angle at your wrists here, you can go to fists so that the fists come onto the wall. You don't have a bend in your wrists at all, right? It is more intense than your down dog on the floor because you don't have this kind of angle, right? So take your time. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, let your elbows hug inward. Find that length of the spine. Feel your feet right underneath your hips. So you really do have that capital letter L feeling. Good. One more breath. And then walk on back up towards the wall. And we're going to come on down onto our bellies on the floor from here. So take your time. Let yourself release on down. And make a little pillow if you can with your hands so you can rest your forehead on your hands. Let yourself release there. See if you can really let your legs relax. So that might mean just allowing your heels to hike outward a little bit. Not everybody does that. Some of you might feel better the other way, actually, but just try to let your legs go. Let yourself breathe into your low back. Good. And then let's come on to our forearms. Let your elbows come under your shoulders if you can for Sphinx pose, unless this bothers your back. So you can go lower with your torso and bring your elbows down more towards your waist if that's better, or arms higher, right? You got to find what feels good for you. See if you can let yourself open up here through the front of the body. Try to let yourself look maybe a little towards the front of your mat, but not lifting the chin up and tensing the back of the neck, right? Let it feel good. Belly is gently engaging. But there's that nice stretch through the front of the body. Good. One more breath. And then bring your hands together. Clasp your hands. Send your pinky fingers out. Now you can, if you want, bend your knees and lift your hips up a little bit and find a half forearm plank here. You're on the flesh above your knees, right? So belly is engaging. If you want to do a full forearm plank, you can put your feet down, lift your knees up. So take your time. You're trying to use the belly here in the low back. Feel the elbows gently hugging towards each other. we're going to come on back down. And now stretch your left arm overhead and roll to your left side. So you're using your left arm kind of like a pillow. If this bothers your shoulder, don't do it. You know, if you need to put your head on a blanket or a block, do that and bring the arm down or forward more. So take your time. Let yourself imagine you're standing in mountain pose here on your side. Flex your feet. Let the right foot be a little higher up off the left foot there so they're not together. And then if you're able to reach your right arm overhead, you can even clasp your hands up there, send your pointer finger up. Let yourself stretch there through the whole body. Now press into the outside edge of that left foot a little bit. That helps stabilize. And then you might want to put your right hand back on the floor in front of you because we're going to do like a tree here on our side. We're going to bring our right foot in, either below your knee to your calf or up above into your inner thigh. That's up to you, how your hip feels, right? So if you want to bring your hand off the floor, you can put your right hand on your hip, or you can stretch the arms long again overhead if you like that, if that feels good. Just take your time. Again, press into the outside edge of that left foot. This opens your hip. If you want a little more, you can use your right hand to draw your right knee in towards your shoulder a little bit. And that's up to you. One more breath here. If anybody wants to extend that leg up longer, you can too. If you really can rotate that heel forward, finding that outward hip rotation. And then go ahead and bend the knee back again. Stretch the right leg back down long. And we're going to roll back to our belly and come back into a Sphinx pose for a second. So let yourself come on back into forearms on the floor. Take your time. Open up through the front of the body. Good. And then we're going to come on to our right side. So stretching that right arm long. Trying to get yourself lined up. So remember, you don't want to be like a banana. You don't want your legs forward or back. You want the feet right underneath the hips. You can always look and check. And then take your time. Again, if you can flex the feet, press into the outside edge of that right foot, and it feels good to reach your arm, left arm overhead. You can clasp your hands up there and stretch here through the whole body. Keep the belly engaging. And then again, you might want to put your left hand on the floor to put that left foot in for that tree, like a reclined tree pose, right? So you can put it below or above the knee. You can, again, if it feels good to take your left hand off the floor, do or not. So now that your hips released a little bit, if you want to use your left hand to draw that left knee in towards your shoulder a little bit, you can. You don't need to. And of course, that extension of the leg, totally up to you. If you try to extend the leg up longer, just rotate that heel forward. You know, coming into your Anantasana, this is called. And take your time. Just be mindful. Let it feel good in your hip, not like you're overly gripping. And then we're going to bring that leg on back down long. Let yourself take your time there. We're going to roll back to our bellies. And again, come into that Sphinx pose if you can. And some of you actually might even want to bring your hands back by your chest and press up a little higher in towards a cobra. You don't need to. If it feels really good to you though, you can let yourself get a little more stretch there through the front of the body. Good. And then we're going to make our way towards pose of a child from here. So ease your way, right? Especially if it's been a while since you've done some yoga. This is a really wonderful releasing pose for the low back and the hips, but only if you don't force it. So if you need to stay a little bit forward onto your forearms, you can always make a little pillow for your hands and rest your head. Good. So one more breath, feeling that low back rise and expand as you breathe in. And then to come up, let your hands help you. Bring them back by your knees. Make your way on around to sitting. So stretch your legs out in front of you as you do. And if you need a blanket to sit on, by all means, grab a blanket. Let yourself sit up higher. We'll do a little bit of twist here. So shake your legs out a little bit. And then let's all bring our left leg to where the heel gets a little more towards the midline. And bring our right foot across, either below or above our knee. So how far over you go, up to you. Once you get your foot over, see if you can use your hands a little bit to really sit up tall. So lengthening up. Good. And then let your left hand come onto that right knee, and as you exhale, come on around into your twist. So you guys are going to twist towards the door, and I'm twisting away. So take your time, let yourself feel that left heel on the floor, lengthen up through the top of your head. Good, one more breath here. And now as you exhale, use your belly to bring you back on around into center. And we're going to switch. Go to the other side. So the right heel again comes a little more to the midline, and then that left foot crosses over. And if that's too much for you, keep the foot on the inside. You know, if coming across either below or above the knee. And then see if you can sit up really tall. So use your hands to help you. Yeah, really reaching up through the top of your head. Inhale. And on the exhale, as the right hand is on your knee, bring your left hand on around. Think about the right ribs coming towards that left inner thigh. And let yourself release up here. Now, you keep your hand there. If your elbow is right there at your knee, you can maybe wrap your arm around your knee if you want. You can go as deep as you want in these twists. Take your time. Enjoy. Feel that twist in the middle of the back. So one more breath. And then let your belly again be what brings you on back around. We're going to stretch our legs on out in front of us. Move through your ankles or your feet a little bit, your legs. You can do little flip-flops. You can do little bounces. And then separate your feet. Now, you don't have to go into a really wide angle. It's really up to you. You can bring your feet more like you have a 90-degree angle there. If your hips feel good to go farther, do. And then just think of coming a little bit forward just to feel a nice release. You can hold your legs. You can put your hands on the floor if that's better. You can use a block. You know, if you feel like, oh, I like to have a block there and have my hands on a block and let myself come a little forward that way, do. So take your time. Really enjoy coming forward from the low back. Nice. Keeping the length of the spine. One more breath, just enjoying the insides of the legs, the inner thighs, of course the hamstrings, all the way up into your hips. One more breath. And then we'll slowly make our way on up. And we are going to lie down on the floor on our backs. So take your time, come on around, have your blocks handy. All right, just in case you want them. We're going to do a little bit of bridge pose, so you may want to do a supported. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Let yourself roll around a little bit. Actually, see if you can, when your knees come over to the right, your head can roll to look left. So that you're just rolling when the knees switch to the other side to turn, let the head go the other way. And you can roll through the back of your head too, like you're giving your head a massage. And then finish with everything back at center, so you're looking up at the ceiling, your knees are in. And then we'll bring our feet to the floor. For a second, stretch your arms overhead. And actually clasp your hands together up there if you can. Turn your palms away from your top of your head and then press up a little bit into the heels of your hands and let the back extend. In other words, let yourself feel the back come off the floor. It's fine. You're not trying. You're just stretching nice and long through both sides. Curves come back into the back there. Tailbone might want to reach down a little bit. And then release and bring the arms down alongside you and get your feet set here for bridge, a little wider than they are in mountain, still parallel. And let yourself then start to feel the arms. Bend your elbows to about 90 degrees and let the palms face each other. Press into the backs of the arms. See if you can roll your shoulders under more. And then as you keep pressing into your arms, float on up into a little bridge pose. Feel your thighs. If you want to feel them a little more, press more into your feet. You can experiment with lifting your heels up as well if you'd like. You can lift the heels up and down a little bit. Just take your time. If you're like, oh, really what I want to do is grab a block and be on it, then do it. If bringing a block underneath you and letting yourself come any height, lowest, middle, you can do 2 blocks if you want. If it feels really good to support your sacrum there, just make sure if you're supported that you are not hanging off the block, right? You don't want to add more curves to the back. It's pretty natural here. And you can stay released onto the block. You can play if you're on the block and let yourself bring legs up, or another good thing to do sometimes on a block is lengthen one leg long on the floor, and you get a nice openness through the front of the hip of that long leg. So if you want to do a little bit in your supported bridge rather than just release, you can, or not. Follow your body's own inclination right here, right? If you're in the bridge pose without support, you feel free to come down whenever you want. You can go back up again or not. Just be mindful, let it feel good. Remember, bridge pose, you don't want to feel in your back. You're going to feel your thighs. But there is a lengthening feeling both in the front and the back of the body in bridge pose. No sense of discomfort in your low back at all. Take your time. When you're ready to come down from bridge pose, you come down whenever you choose. Just bring your knees into your chest once you do. And follow what your body wants to do right now. And that can be anything. If you need another little twist down there on the floor, by all means do one. If the idea of coming into another pose or another movement sounds good, do it. And again, that could be anything. We all feel different at the end of yoga classes, so take your time. I'm going to start to move around, and if you need a blanket, it is chilly, even with the heat on here. Let me bring you a blanket if you want, for cover. If you need a bolster, I will bring you a bolster. Remember, if you lie back, if you're at home and you feel like your back is iffy, put just a roll of a blanket underneath your knees, or something, even a pillow that's kind of rolled up. If you don't have a bolster, can be helpful. And also, the neck. Be aware of how your neck feels. So if you feel tightness, if your chin kind of lifts up a little bit, you might want to put just a blanket underneath the back of your head. And then settle in. You know, if you need to kind of wiggle your way into Shavasana, by all means do. Really, these few minutes of quiet are just giving your body and your mind time to benefit from all you just did. So just follow your breath in and out, that wave of the breath. Just like the waves of the ocean can be so calming, will quiet your mind, will quiet your body. And just keep coming back to that wave of your breath. And give yourself these few minutes to completely and fully relax. your breaths coming in and going out. A little more fully, more deeply again. Not forcing, just letting those easy breaths deepen and lengthen. And let your fingers and your toes, when you're ready to move, really lead you into moving. So that you start with your extremities and you move on up through your hands, your feet. When you're ready, your arms, your legs. You can stretch, you can bend your knees if you need to. And of course, if you like rolling onto either your right or your left side and helps you to come into a soft fetal position, that can be an adjustment time there. And when you do feel okay to rise up to sitting, really take your time. Let your eyes stay closed if you can, and let your body get comfortable in the way you're sitting. It doesn't matter whether you sit cross-legged or stretch your legs out, or if you need to put a blanket underneath you, by all means do. But just start to adjust upward, up through the top of your head once you're seated comfortably, and enjoy feeling the breath again. A lot of room to breathe when you're sitting up nice and tall, feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, allow your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Middle of the week.
Survived. We did it. Trudy disappeared.
Yeah, she left.
I mean, literally. She just looked at